Said he does not regret his past actions. Joanna Beilman-Doolin, research director for One Wisconsin Now, said in a statement, quote, Skrenik is an extremist whose political views are far beyond the mainstream on women's health care. Bucks lost to Oklahoma City last night. The Bradley Center won 10-91. With last night's loss, the Bucks are now 4-3 to start the season. They now hit the road for a rare 4-game trip that starts tonight in Charlotte. Tonight, rain likely, lows in the low 40s. Tomorrow, with chance of rain, highs in the low 50s. And Friday, mostly sunny, highs in the mid-40s. Currently 46 degrees in Milwaukee, 44 in Waukesha. For 1510 AM, WRD, Wisconsin Resistance Radio, I'm Brian Kelly.
The following program is a presentation of DC Communications, LLC. Warning, you are about to listen to the greatest radio show ever. And due to contractual obligations and to shield our airwaves corporate licensees from any semblance of liability, responsibility, and gullibility, we must tell you the views represented on this show are not necessarily those of this station or its management. This radio show contains differing points of view on current political topics, and due to the nature of its contents, it should be heard by everyone. Thank you for listening.
3, 2, 2, 1.
Now live from the heart of liberal Wisconsin, where the political party is just beginning, welcome to the Devil's Advocate Show. Best friends proving it's never personal, only politics.
Please allow me to introduce myself.
Now here are your hosts, Dom and Crute.
Welcome to the Devil's Advocates Radio Show. Happy Hump Day, Dominic.
Happy Hump Day, Crudy. Always a pleasure, my dear friend.
Yes, it is. And this is going to be another really big show, buddy.
It keeps happening around
here.
here.
The booker around here is unbelievable.
You're welcome.
This guy is tremendous. We've got big guests, top to bottom, middle to bottom. Matt Rothschild, Batman, Executive Director, Wisconsin Democracy Campaign. He's going to come and tell us at 3:30 today that the Goobinators got the old corrupt campaign cabal. They're all back together again.
We're getting the band back together. It's another tour.
Yeah, they're on a mission from Coke. Well, we'll talk about that. Supreme Court candidate, Judge Rebecca Dallett. She's coming down to Brady Street, Dom. She'll join us in studio.
Nice.
At 4:30 today. And we got to start turning it off a little bit earlier, but not before. We have a fine top of the happy hour guest, Mike McCabe, a Wisconsin gubernatorial candidate. He's a declared Democrat, but the DPW is not treating him like one. He's got a big grievance with our friends at the Democratic Party of Wisconsin. We'll give him a platform.
Awesome.
At 5 o'clock, friend of the show, Mike McCabe, we welcome all these fine guests. And Dom, I hate to say it, but we got to start with the president. Damn it.
Well, some days are easier to start with the president than like today. You know, I always hate the after a terrorist attack show, after the mass shooting shows. Those are always, you know, the most difficult.
Well, yesterday I apparently offended a few righties. I'm okay with that. Donald Trump, he, of course, was quick to denounce this terrorist attack in real time. It's amazing when it's a Muslim that he always does that. He seemingly always is quick to respond.
But if I recall,
when you can point towards the terrorists. Well, how did he respond after Las Vegas?
I think many people
no
responded.
statement of terrorist.
A lot of Republicans responded after Las Vegas in this is a time for reflection, thoughts and prayers for the victims and all those kinds of things, and, you know, bump stock legislation and discussions regarding gun safety. Well, we'll talk about that after our reflection, and no such pause for the president yesterday.
Well, today, Tom, he had something to say, and we're going to share some of that sound. Donald Trump, earlier today, cut 80, we're going to start with here, Fancy Brian. Trump talking about the first terrorist attack in New York City, I believe the first fatality since 9/11.
Today we mourn the horrifying terrorist attack in New York City, just blocks away from the site of the World Trade Center.
Starts appropriately enough. Must have a teleprompter. Cut 81, if you would, Fancy Brian. He goes on.
All of America is praying and grieving for the families who lost their precious loved ones. Horrible act. Our hearts break for them, and we pledge to renew our resolve in their memory.
Do you think he just became presidential, Dom? Hasn't that been attributed to Trump every time he makes a less than asinine statement? Suddenly, he sounds presidential.
Yes, not sticking your entire foot in your mouth makes you so much more presidential. Of course, he's lowered the bar, and thus far, seems fairly reasonable speech.
He never stays presidential for very long. Fancy Brian, if you could, never afraid to call a suspected terrorist what he truly is. Call him an animal. Cut 82.
My administration is coordinating closely between federal and local officials to investigate the attack and to further investigate this animal who did the attacking.
Never called the white guy an animal.
I was just thinking about that, and maybe I should have looked this up prior to getting on the air. What was the president's response? Do you recall, Curdy, to the Las Vegas shootings?
You better look it up.
All right, I'm going to do that.
Mischaracterize.
No, of course. I think that if we're going to discuss and say, hey, I remember him calling other terrorists losers.
Yeah.
But I don't recall what he specifically said. I'll see if I can find something quickly. Let's continue.
Okay. Now, Donald Trump, of course, never the one to overreact or to react unnecessarily, just tells us he's planning to terminate the United States, the federal government's diversity visa lottery program.
What?
As long as he's not overreacting to this newest tragic incident. If you would, Fancy Brian, play cut 83.
I am today starting the process of terminating the diversity lottery program. I'm going to ask Congress to immediately initiate work to get rid of this program, diversity lottery.
Diversity, I think, was explained to us a while back. Do we have an old cut of what diversity means, Brian? Yeah, sorry. Let's see if we can play that.
Well, I could be wrong, but I believe diversity is an old wooden ship that was used during the Civil War era.
Donald Trump can't even say the word.
Diversity and diversity.
You know what he then said? Diversity. Diversity sounds like a good word, but it's not a good word. I don't know if we have that sound. We may not have it in its entirety. But if we could, let's jump ahead, unless you know where that one's at, Fancy Brian. You do? Why don't you just play that one? What number are we talking about here, my friend? Got a big old list of sound. 116. Donald Trump continues to discuss diversity.
Diversity lottery sounds nice. It's not nice. It's not good. It's not good. It hasn't been good. We've been against it.
He's against diversity, the diversity lottery, specific.
Diversity sounds good, but it's not good.
It's not. No, of course he's talking about the program, or is he specifically talking about the actual definition of the term diversity?
I don't think he likes either one, Dom, but in this case, he intends to immediately throw out the diversity lottery program. And I would point out, this is not for any, militant off the street. You must demonstrate there is a certain amount of education you've gone through. You have to qualify for this program. It's only $50,000. But anyways, of course, there's absolutely an opportunity to politicize it and blame it on the Dems. Chuck Schumer, I guess the target today. If you would, Fancy Brian, let's start with 117.
We'll be asking Congress to start working on it immediately. There are bills already about ending chain migration, and we have a lot of good bills in there. We're being stopped by Democrats because they're obstructionists. And honestly, they don't want to do what's right for our country.
Jeff Flake came out today. I know he's not a huge fan of the Trumpster, but a senator came out specifically, said Chuck Schumer was part of the Gang of Eight. The Dems have tried to solve this problem. Actually, it was the Republicans that threw back the Gang of Eight's immigration reform recommendations, if you'll recall, Trump. But of course, accuracy, not an important part.
No, not at all.
Of the Trump agenda.
No.
Let's go 118, Fancy Brian.
We don't want lotteries where the wrong people are in the lotteries. And guess what? Who are the suckers that get those people?
The suckers? I thought the suckers were the ones that paid their taxes, Trump. Now who's the suckers?
Right.
Let's keep going. 119, if you would, Fancy Brian.
This man that came in, or whatever you want to call him, brought in with him other people. And he was the point of contact, the primary point of contact for, and this is preliminarily, 23 people.
Okay, let's keep going. Donald Trump. We need strength and resolve, right? Strength and resolve to get rid of the immigration lottery program. Cut 120.
We need strength. We need resolve. We have to stop it. So we're going to get rid of this lottery program as soon as possible.
Brian, if you'd be so kind, let's keep going down the list. Let's jump ahead to cut 122. Here's where Trump might be going off the rails. Not that he hasn't to date, but this one's beyond the pale. 122.
We have to get much tougher. We have to get much smarter. And we have to get much less politically correct. We're so politically correct that we're afraid to do anything.
You know, waterboarding, or a hell of a lot worse, Tom.
Well, yes, we know he's all about waterboarding. Did he order any waterboarding? I mean, as a presidential
I'm not clear whether or not he has done so to date, but political correctness, that's what's holding back the Trump administration. They're so constrained.
Yeah. Yes, they'd be much more efficient in forwarding their agenda with the Republican majority in the Congress if they were more politically correct.
And Dom, just so the audience is absolutely clear, let's keep playing it. Donald Trump, swifter judgment for those animals. 1, 2, 3.
We also have to come up with punishment that's far quicker and far greater than the punishment these animals are getting right now. They'll go through court for years. At the end, there'll be who knows what happens.
Wow.
Time to rid ourselves of those problematic time-constraining due process clauses in the Constitution. Now, I know he doesn't put any consideration in the words coming out of his mouth, but as the President of the United States, do we react to an act of terrorism, A, by eliminating the immigration lottery program, and B, what? Do away with due process?
We don't need any of that, especially
swifter justice. What if you got the justice
hey,
wrong?
Come on. You cannot apply the American justice system to animals, Crudy. Those are reserved for the humans.
What is this guy? Judge Dredge? Judge, jury, executioner?
Judge Dredd? He'd love to be, man. I mean, if it was up to him, he'd absolutely be that way. That's Trump, man.
Hey, you correct me again on the air.
Hey, I'm
going to see more diversity for this program.
Hey, when we get back, though, Crudy, CNN, Krista Liza does our homework for us. The stunning difference between Trump's reaction to the Las Vegas shooting and the New York City attack.
You are listening to the Devil's Advocates Radio Show, WRRD 1510 AM, Wisconsin's only Resistance Radio. Phone lines open, 844-967-2789.
I know words. I have the best words.
Diversity and diversity.
You keep using that word. I don't think it means what you think it means.
Diversity and diversity.
Not gonna work here anymore anyway.
Chris Abley and Board Chair Theo Lipscomb have different plans for Milwaukee County. For the past 6 years, Chris Abley has balanced Milwaukee County's budget, reduced debt, and protected vital services without raising property taxes. Abley's fiscally responsible budget proposal this year continues the progress we've made toward a more sustainable future for Milwaukee County. Abley is putting people back to work, but Theo's cuts would end job training programs. Abley's budget maintained, but Theo Lipscomb has a different plan. Theo isn't willing to make the hard choices and is demanding devastating service cuts to our roads and keeps public transit affordable. But Theo's cuts would slash bus routes and delay road repairs. Abley is fighting to keep our parks and senior centers open, but Theo's cuts could shut them down. And while Abley's budget tackles the opioid epidemic, Theo's cuts would hurt public health and make our communities less safe. Call your county supervisor. Tell them to support Chris Abley's budget for Milwaukee County. Paid for by Chris Abley for County Executive.
Do you own a rental property, or would you like to partner with a rental investment team? Call the pros you can trust at CCL Management. Rental expertise second to none, a general contractor on staff to direct repairs and improvements, and real estate brokerage services tailored to the small investor. If you're ready to invest in rental property or just need professionals to manage your real estate portfolio, call us, CCL Management, at 608-833-0009 or visit us on the web at cclmanagement.com.
You concerned about speaking up at work? Do you feel like you have no say in your day-to-day work routine? Join Teamsters Local 344. Call 414-258-4545. Get a seat at the table. Join your brothers and sisters in negotiating for better wages, hours, and working conditions, and be part of the most powerful union in North America. Teamsters Local 344 covers sales and service throughout southeast Wisconsin and package and airlines statewide. Contact Teamsters Local 344 at 414-258-4545 or at local344.org.
I was on Zero Res Madison's Facebook page the other day, and they have almost 2,000 testimonials from local customers. Apparently, I am not the only one stoked on how cool this company is. A green technology that actually works better and doesn't cost more, it's a no-brainer, I'm in. We are starting our own Devil's Advocates revolution to free your carpets from harsh chemicals and soaps. Call Zero Res today and ask for the Dom and Crute special 608-848-9000 or schedule online at ZeroResMadison.com. Zero Res, spell it forward or backward, it's the right way to clean.
Pete's Fruit Market, a family-owned business serving Milwaukee for more than a generation, now has a brand-new second location at the corner of North Avenue and Martin Luther King Drive in Milwaukee's Brunsville neighborhood. The new store is open from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. 7 days a week and always features the freshest fruits and vegetables at the lowest prices. In addition to offering the best produce, Pete's Fruit Market is also a full-line grocery store featuring fresh meats and delicious deli items. Pete's Fruit Market, Milwaukee's best produce.
Today we decided to walk to school. The light counted. 15, 14.
13.
We took a left on Carroll Street. Danny's smart, but he gets distracted. He realized he forgot his homework. I hope he doesn't have another bad day at school.
When you can see learning and attention issues from their side, you can be on their side. That's why there's Understood.org, a free resource for the parents of the 1 in 5 kids with learning and attention issues. Go from misunderstanding to Understood.org. Brought to you by Understood and the Ad Council.
I don't know if you know the Devil's Advocates, but they are kind of a big deal.
Well, you guys are having a good show so far.
Hey, could you say that again? Just not for our sake, Paul, but for the sake of the audience.
Yeah, tell everybody once again what a great show we are having.
You guys have a good show almost every day.
Wow, almost. All right, thanks for calling, Paul. I'm just kidding.
Okay, every day.
Tweet some shade at you, Paul. The Devil's Advocates, weekday afternoons on 1510 a.m. Wisconsin's Resistance Radio.
Warning, listening to the Devil's Advocates may expose you to opposing views.
And we are back. Thank you for listening to the Devil's Advocates radio show live on Wisconsin's Resistance Radio, 1510 a.m. WRRD. Streaming live on YouTube, on Facebook, on Twitter at Devil Radio, and on the phones toll-free 844-967-2789.
Dominic, Donald Trump, he reacts differently depending on who the alleged perpetrator is. And I think this spells out very clearly, as you pointed out, Chris Cillizza did our homework for us. The point with Chris Cillizza at the CNN. On October 1st, a man shot and killed 58 people at an outdoor concert in Las Vegas, the largest mass murder in modern American history. On October 3rd, that's 2 days later, Dom, President Donald Trump was asked about the impact of the shooting on current gun laws and possible future gun control measures. He said that his administration and Congress would be talking about gun laws as times go by. Trump was also asked whether the shooting was an act of domestic terrorism. He declined to answer. On October 4th, this would be day 3, Dom, in Las Vegas, Trump was again asked about the possible legislative action on guns. We're not going to talk about that today. He responded, "We won't talk about that." Fast forward 30 days. You want to help me here?
On October 31st, an Uzbek man drives a rental truck on a bike lane in New York City. He kills 8 people and injures a dozen more. Within hours, Trump tweets this. In New York City, it looks like another attack by a very sick and deranged person. Law enforcement is following this closely. Not in the USA, capitalized. He followed up with a second tweet last night. We must now not allow ISIS to return or enter our country after defeating them in the Middle East and elsewhere. Enough. And a third, I have just ordered Homeland Security to step up our already extreme vetting program. Being politically correct is fine, but not for this.
Extreme vetting.
On November 1st, today, Trump tweets again. The terrorist came into our country through what is called the Diversity Visa Lottery Program.
I'm not sure that's how you pronounce it, or that's not how the president pronounces it.
Diversity. How does he say it, Brian? How does Trump pronounce it? Let's hear the president again.
Diversity and diversity.
Yeah. And what is called the Diversity Visa Lottery Program. A Chuck Schumer beauty, Trump tweets out, I want merit-based. And then he adds in a subsequent tweet, we are fighting hard for the merit-based immigration. For no more Democrat lottery systems, we must get much tougher and smarter. At Fox and Friends, he shoots a little love out to the right-wing propaganda.
It's not that he was just shooting love out to the Fox and Friends. It was that they were influencing his tweets in real time. They were encouraging the president to set a policy of what? Toughness.
Well, let's stay on point here, and we'll get to that. Prior to meeting with his cabinet Wednesday around noon, about 18 hours after the attack, Trump proposes action to be taken on the Diversity Lottery Program, the means by which the alleged attacker made it to the U.S. We played that sound. Now, let's talk about Trump's words used to describe the men who perpetrated, of course, the Las Vegas attack and this terrorist attack yesterday.
So, for a point of clarity, Dom, he didn't wait 2, 3, 4 days before responding to, the terrorist attack yesterday?
No,
that came out in real time. Right. In fact, when we got challenged, I got challenged on the air, right? Caller, you can always challenge me, 844-967-2789. Caller challenged me because I said Donald Trump will be ecstatic about this terrorist incident. A, because it plays to the base, but B, of course, it turns the page on the recent indictments of Manafort and Gates and Papadopoulos. Oh, Donald Trump, he respects human life, some caller wanted to say. And I would say, I don't think that's entirely true, Dom.
Here's what Trump said about the Las Vegas shooters. The wires were crossed pretty badly in his brain, extremely badly in his brain, and it's a very sad event. On the man alleged to attack the New York City, this animal who did the attacking. Notice any difference? I notice a difference.
White guy at Vegas.
Muslim guy. Muslim guy. Immigrant. Recent immigrant. In New York City.
CNN's reporting today at this minute that Trump would like to send the animal to Gitmo. It's the Vegas shooter? Oh, no, he's dead. He's at the morgue. Yeah. Come back with us. More Devil's Advocates Radio Show, WRD. Phone lines open here, 844-967-2789.
There's nobody that's done so much for equality as I have.
It's not good. It hasn't been good. We've been against it.
Mark your calendars. Wednesday, November 8th, the ACLU of Wisconsin's Bill of Rights celebration, a year of resistance at the Italian Conference Center in Milwaukee. Dinner and award ceremony starts at 5. After party starts at 8, Dom.
Crudy, the keynote speaker, is the National ACLU Political Director, Faz Shakir. Tickets for the whole evening, $100 per person, or just come to party with the Devil's Advocates and music from Madison's own Whiskey Farm for just $25.
The ACLU is honoring Planned Parenthood, the NAACP Youth Commandos of 1967, the brave plaintiffs in their case against conditions at Lincoln Hills, and the lead plaintiff in the voter ID case.
The ACLU of Wisconsin's Bill of Rights celebration, Wednesday, November 8th. Go to aclu-wi.org for tickets and more information.
I only drink when I feel good. I've got what I love and I love what I've got. It just so happens I'm happy a lot.
You are listening to Wisconsin's Resistance Radio, WRRD, 1510 AM, Milwaukee, Waukesha. There is not a gun to my head right now.
You're listening to WIN, Workers Independent News, a diversified media enterprises production. I'm Doug Cunningham.
We will not lie down. We will not go away. We will not go away quietly into the night. We will not cower. We will not submit. We will not be fooled by your propaganda or bought by your money. Nothing will stop the will of working people when you trample on our rights. And so solidarity and activism and the union are our tools and our weapons as we gather into a force that will not be ignored.
New York City public advocate Letitia James talking about the IBEW Spectrum strike in New York City. 1,800 workers on strike for 8 months for a fair contract are taking their Spectrum charter campaign to 41 states. IBEW International Vice President Mike Welsh.
Corporate greed has no bounds. It is everywhere, and it keeps growing and growing. It's a shame. Here we go. Somebody $98 million, and then people are out in the street for 8 months. We got to let them know that we're not going to stand up and take it. We're going to fight nationwide. We're going to come back and take this back. Your fight is all over the country. You're not alone in this struggle. We're here to be with you.
Charter Spectrum CEO Tom Rutledge has a $98 million salary package, and IBEW says he's trying to bust the union. The striking workers say the company wants to end the workers' pension plan, substituting a less stable and less valuable 401k plan. Charter Spectrum also wants to switch workers to a worse health care plan that costs workers more. CWA President Chris Shelton says guys like Rutledge, robber barons of another era, used to kill strikers.
They would kill strikers. Well, today, that violence hasn't changed. They're still killing strikers, but they're killing us with courthouses and bullshit and stealing work and giving it to scabs and stealing livelihoods, and we're not gonna let them do it. Are you ready to fight? Yeah! Are you ready to win? Yeah!
Strike rally audio here, courtesy of New York City's Labor Press. The Economic Policy Institute says in 2016, wages in America rose for the bottom 90%. That rise was 0.5%. For those in the top 0.1% of the economy, wages dropped by 6.3%. EPI says annual wages averaged over all workers remained basically unchanged in 2016, but the share of all wages earned by the top 90% increased in 2016, resulting in slightly improved wages for that group. You've been listening to WIN, Workers Independent News. For more information, visit workersindependentnews.com.
The Devil's Advocates. Political commentary from the back of the class.
Welcome back to the Devil's Advocates radio show. Dom, you pointed out the difference. The vocabulary, it's entirely different. The call to action, the urgency, entirely different for Donald Trump, dependent upon whether or not it's a Muslim, allegedly, that perpetrates this act of terrorism. In this case, running people over, driving a rental truck down a bike path, or whether it is some white guy with, bad stuff in his brains, a few wires crossed, killing 58 people at a concert
and shooting
in Las Vegas.
500. I mean, this is and again, I just want to be clear.
And I would point,
but let's be clear. These are both horrific tragedies.
Absolutely.
I mean, there's no getting around it. And it is. It's terrible to have to talk about these things. It's a whole lot easier than having to live through it. But the reaction of our president is specifically what we are focusing on. How do you look at these two most recent incidences and see his reaction and not wonder, how is it that this one guy's an animal and the other guy had his wires crossed? How is it that in Las Vegas we must pause and reflect and give some time for healing, but immediately, Crudy, Trump is tweeting out about the New York City attack?
I think it's more than his abhorrence of the Muslim faith. I think it's pigmentation. I think it's skin tone. Look at the differential in how Donald Trump treated the Puerto Rican hurricane than the hurricanes Harvey and Irma. I mean, the ones that hit the U.S. mainland, there was all sorts of aid for those people.
Puerto Rico.
But when it came time to deal with the Puerto Rican hurricane, it's, hey, you're blasting my budget. You don't need any lights.
As he's throwing paper towels like basketballs.
As he's bragging about the body count.
You don't need flashlights. You're not going to need these.
You know that 16, that body count he bragged about? He asked someone at the press conference, what's your body count?
Terrible.
Like a way better tragedy due to the low body count in Puerto Rico than, of course, Obama's tragedy, which was Katrina. Of course, that's George W. But,
doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter. But ultimately, I would also point out the death count in Puerto Rico, it's in the hundreds now.
We love Puerto Rico.
Has Donald Trump updated his body count? The one he was bragging about at a press conference? So when Republicans come out...
No, there's an investigation into the shady $300 million deal for some company to
Whitefish Energies, which happens to be in the same town as Ryan Zinke, the Interior Secretary,
whose son interned with the same company.
This two-man shop that got a $300 million contract.
That's the kind of government support that Puerto Rico gets. Some con job, some